There comes a moment in your life when you have to look at yourself, not the person you pretend to be, not the person everybody expects you to be, but the person you have allowed yourself to become, and ask one difficult question: how much longer am I going to live beneath my own potential? Because sometimes the enemy is not outside the door. Sometimes it is the voice inside you that says, tomorrow I will become disciplined. Tomorrow I will stop being afraid. Tomorrow I will walk away from what destroys me. Tomorrow I will believe in myself. But tomorrow keeps moving, and while you are waiting for the perfect moment to become stronger, life is passing through your hands. There is a weaker version of you that has survived by making excuses. A version that learned to stay comfortable because comfort felt safer than change. A version that accepted disrespect because standing up felt frightening. A version that abandoned dreams because failure seemed more painful than regret. But hear this clearly: you are not required to remain that person. You can bury the habits that buried your confidence. You can silence the voice that constantly tells you that you are not enough. You can walk away from the fear that has been making your decisions for you. This is not about destroying yourself. It is about destroying the part of you that keeps choosing less when you were built to become more. The old you may beg for comfort. Let it. The old you may remind you of every failure. Let it. The old you may tell you that change is too difficult. Let it speak, and then move anyway, because somewhere beyond your fear is a version of you who does not need permission to rise. A version who understands that strength is not something you find waiting for you. It is something you build, decision by decision, morning by morning, wound by wound. So today, stop asking when your life will change. Ask when you will change. And if the answer is now, then let this be the day you stop carrying the person you have outgrown. There is a version of you that knows exactly what you are capable of, yet keeps choosing the easier road. It knows you should wake up earlier, work harder, speak with courage, set boundaries, and stop accepting less than you deserve. But it also knows how to whisper convincing excuses. It tells you that you are tired, that tomorrow will be better, that you have plenty of time, that other people are luckier, that your circumstances are too difficult, or that you should wait until you feel confident. And because those excuses sound reasonable, you believe them. You protect that weaker version of yourself because changing it would require discomfort, honesty, and responsibility. But growth begins when you stop protecting what is keeping you small. You cannot build a powerful future while constantly defending the habits that are destroying your present. You cannot become disciplined while making excuses for procrastination. You cannot become confident while repeatedly abandoning yourself. You cannot demand respect from the world while teaching yourself that disrespect is something you must tolerate. At some point, you have to stop explaining your weaknesses and start confronting them. That does not mean hating yourself. It means loving your future enough to stop feeding the behaviors that are stealing it. Maybe you have spent years telling yourself that you are not ready. But readiness is often an illusion. You become ready by beginning. You become stronger by facing what frightens you. You become confident by keeping promises to yourself. Every time you do what you said you would do, even when nobody's watching, you rebuild your relationship with yourself. The weak version of you wants immediate comfort. The stronger version understands delayed reward. The weak version wants applause before taking the first step. The stronger version takes the step without knowing who will notice. The weak version is obsessed with what people might say. The stronger version becomes more concerned with what happens if you never become who you were meant to be. Think about how much energy you have spent trying to preserve an identity that no longer serves you. Perhaps you keep saying, "That is just how I am." But who told you that you could not change? Who decided that your past had the authority to write every chapter of your future? You are allowed to become unfamiliar to the person you used to be. You are allowed to outgrow your excuses. You are allowed to stop participating in patterns that repeatedly hurt you. You are allowed to become disciplined after years of inconsistency. You are allowed to become courageous after years of fear. You are allowed to disappoint the version of yourself that wanted comfort more than transformation. The moment you stop protecting your weakness is the moment you begin protecting your potential. And that potential deserves your attention, your effort, your courage, and your refusal to remain the same person simply because changing feels difficult. So stop negotiating with the habits that keep you trapped. Stop giving your fear the final word. And stop calling your limitations permanent when they are only patterns you have practiced for too long. Stand up, take responsibility for the life in front of you, and decide that the person you become from this moment forward will no longer be controlled by the person you used to be. The stronger version of you is not created in one dramatic moment. It is built quietly, through the choices you make when nobody is watching, when motivation disappears, when fear becomes loud, and when the easiest thing to do is quit. You do not become stronger simply because you want to be stronger. You become stronger when you repeatedly choose what is difficult but necessary over what is easy but destructive. Discipline is the bridge between the person you are and the person you want to become. Motivation can inspire you to begin, but discipline teaches you to continue. There will be mornings when you do not feel like getting up, days when your progress seems invisible, and moments when you question whether your effort is worth it. Those are the moments that reveal who you are becoming. If you only move when you feel inspired, you will remain dependent on your emotions. But when you learn to act despite how you feel, you begin to take control of your life. Courage works the same way. Courage does not mean that fear disappears. It means you refuse to let fear make every decision for you. You can be afraid and still speak. You can be uncertain and still begin. You can be tired and still take one more step. You can fail and still rise again. Courage is not the absence of trembling. It is the decision to move while you are trembling. Every difficult choice becomes a vote for the person you are becoming. When you choose discipline instead of procrastination, you become more disciplined. When you choose honesty instead of excuses, you become more honest. When you walk away from something that repeatedly destroys your peace, you teach yourself that your future matters. When you keep going after disappointment, you teach yourself that failure does not have the authority to define you. The stronger you does not need to be perfect. That is another trap. You will make mistakes. You will have weak days. You will sometimes return to old habits. What matters is that you refuse to make a temporary setback into a permanent identity. Falling does not mean you have returned to the beginning. It means you have another opportunity to stand up with greater wisdom. There will always be a voice telling you to stay where you are because at least the familiar pain feels safe. But familiar does not mean healthy, and comfortable does not mean fulfilled. Your future may require you to become uncomfortable for a while. It may require you to wake up when others sleep, work when others make excuses, and remain committed when nobody applauds you. One day, you will look back and realize that the life you wanted was not built by one extraordinary decision. It was built by hundreds of ordinary decisions made with extraordinary consistency. Every time you chose discipline, you strengthened yourself. Every time you faced fear instead of obeying it, you became braver. Every time you refused to quit, you became harder to defeat. So stop waiting for a stronger version of yourself to appear. Build that person through your choices today. Let discipline become your foundation. Let courage become your direction. And let every difficult step remind you that you are no longer living according to the limitations of your past, but deliberately becoming the person you once believed was impossible to be.